Hey guys, daskro here. Guns I Know, episode 7. 7 episodes in, and where are all the guns? There are no guns. What happened to all my guns? Well, I gotta tell you the truth, people. I don't know any of the guns that I've been using. You guys believe that? No. I just didn't want to get them out because I just didn't feel like it. But I still have some guns to show you. You see, I buy a lot of firearms, and I don't buy a lot in terms of frequency. But when I do buy them, usually they're really special, and they usually take time to get here. And so I'm getting a new firearm soon, well, relatively soon. I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm going to give you one hint. I'm going to give you 3 hints. How about that? 3 hints. First hint. The gun uses this kind of translucent magazine. And as I turn this around, I'm going to take a second translucent magazine of the same type. Look, there's these little divots and little edges here on the sides. I can put them together like so and twist, and now they're attached. I'm going to take another one. Uh-oh. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it. Oh, look at that. There's 3. 90 rounds. See the 30 round mags apiece. They say 10, 20, 30. What rifle would this go into? Do you guys know? If you've been following my Facebook or my Twitter, you would know. But I'm going to give you guys a hint. The rifle that I purchased requires one of these. What's this? Is a fingerprint card. Why would I need a fingerprint card? In fact, it also requires one of these. A $200 check to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. What kind of rifle could it be? And finally, it requires more than this. It requires, a form. This is a Form 4. Got a little mug on it. And it requires a citizenship form. I haven't filled this out yet, but I assure you I am a U.S. citizen. What gun is it, guys? Well, let me show you. And I'm making my drive all the way to, what's this? Oh, the gun store, Mid-America Arms. Oh, look, it's a gun store. Now, we're about to do the reveal now, guys. About to reveal the gun that I'm going to get. You see that? Oh, it says SIG on it. What does that mean? Oh, yeah, it's a SIG rifle. It's a SIG 553. Actually, it's a SIG 551A1 short-barreled rifle. I've been waiting nearly 10 months for this. And there it is. Boy, that's beautiful. But you know what, guys? I don't get to keep it. I don't get to take it home with me, guys. I got to fill out more paperwork, submit the paperwork, and then wait another 6 to 7 months. It's kind of shitty, but it's what it is. I just have to wait it out. And so I get to look at it, I get to play around with it. The trigger's sweet, the folding stock's sweet. It's a sweet gun. I'm really, really psyched about it. So, anyway, it's sort of, it's a taste. That's all it is. Not the real deal. 6 months from now, I'll be doing a video, though. All right, that's pretty cool. SIG 553. I'm pretty excited about it, but guess what? All that paperwork I showed you all this stuff, there's so much of it. Oh, I got to send it all the way to the ATF as soon as I get my signatures, and then I have to wait like 6, 7 months at minimum, and then I'll finally get the gun. So I got to play with the gun. That's kind of cool. I get to be in the gun shop and move it around, but I got my magazines, but can't shoot it. Sorry, guys. So maybe in 6 months from now, after Endgame comes out, I could do a SIG 553 comparison. Maybe. Anyway, let's talk about other things. I'm going to hit a few questions, and I'm also going to hit up a few other special topics. The one that came to mind that I really want to talk about was I made a video comparison of the SKS Recon rifle. Some of you guys may have seen this, and boy, did I get a lot of comments on that video. It was on Battlefield's Facebook page. It was on Pixel Enemy. It was on a bunch of places. There were a lot of people. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of people. There were probably a dozen to 2 dozen people who really took offense to this video. Really took offense to me slamming the SKS in real life. People saying something around the lines of, my SKS is super accurate. It's good up to 300 yards. It's way better than my AK. I love using my SKS. I love shooting my SKS. I hunt with my SKS. It's a great. How dare you talk so badly about my SKS? I love it so much. That's the sort of comments that I was getting, and I had to kind of clear the water. And I tried to do this. I tried to do this tactfully in the video, but clearly it didn't. Maybe some people got it. Maybe others. Maybe a small minority didn't. But there's nothing wrong with the SKS rifle. The SKS rifle, as an entry to mid-level semi-automatic rifle, is fantastic. It really is. Up until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, it's been a sub $200 rifle. And if you live in Canada, it's still a sub $200 rifle. It's pretty cool. And it's good. It's not a bad rifle. It has a short stroke gas system. The biggest grievances I have with it is it's chambered in 7.62 by 39, which as a intermediate cartridge is not good ballistically. It just isn't. And I know you all could say, well, no, it's good. No, it's not good. There are so many better options out there if you want to hunt or if you want to target shoot. It's just not that great. Now, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying that and then implying that your SKS is terrible. I'm not saying that. I know plenty of guys who have put a lot of effort into their sub $200 SKS, put new trigger jobs in, redid the bolt spacing, honed the bolt, honed all the components so it was much smoother action, put in an aftermarket 20-30 round magazine, all these kind of things. Remove the bayonet, put in a whatever. And it's a great, accurate rifle. But take in mind, and this actually is a pretty good segue more generally into gunsmithing, which is actually one of the questions, incidentally. You can take any rifle, and if you put enough effort into it, you can actually make it a whole lot more accurate than it comes out of factory. There are guys out there that make very, very accurate. We're talking about 1 MOA AKs. 1 MOA AKs is something that is almost sort of like, it's like, what's it called? It's like the Yeti. It's like, oh, I heard about it once, but I never actually saw one. I mean, there are people out there that make really, really highly accurized AKs. They replace the barrel, they replace the trigger group, they'll respace the barrel and the head space of the barrel and the bolt. They'll do all these things, and it actually does make it a more accurate rifle. But when we talk about how accurate or how good a rifle is or is not, it's usually talking about how it comes out of the factory. It just is. Because if we start talking about one person's gun versus another person's gun, with all the extra aftermarket stuff they've put into it, all the extra effort they put into it, it's not an easier comparison. It really isn't. There are people out there. Now, for those that don't collect guns that much, you would know that a high point is a pretty entry-level, cheap, almost a Saturday Night Special kind of gun. I mean, it's a sub $100, cheap, semi-plastic gun. It looks ridiculous. It's terrible. There are guys out there. There are guys out there that put a lot of effort into their really cheapo, high-point pistols and actually make them work pretty decently. But it requires all this extra effort. And so when we hear high point, we don't think about this great pistol that this guy spent all this effort on and making it good. We think of the cheap kind of Saturday Night Special that you would use it and then you throw it away because you used it in a crime. Let's say I would use it, any gun in a crime. But go on with me. Let's move on. Actually, let's keep on going. So I'm sorry, you guys. Some of you guys are butthurt over my SKS comments. I'm not trying to belittle your rifle. Your rifle's probably quite good, and you probably love it, and that's fine. Keep on loving it. Keep on loving it. So don't mind me. All right, moving on to the next topic, going right into the questions. First question by Simon Alistair Cloverfield. He says, as I said before, I'm interested in being a gunsmith and making full-auto machine guns. 1, what are the requirements for obtaining the necessary license? And 2, how can machine gun variants of an assault rifle can be made? Well, first thing is that I'm not an expert in becoming a firearms manufacturer, but here's what I know. To become a full-auto, a manufacturer of full-auto machine gun or full autos, you need 2 different things. You need a special occupancy tax, which is a tax permit, and then you also need a FFL 07, which is a manufacturer's license. They both cost a few $1,000s a year. They require audits, they require interviews, they require a lot of paperwork, but once you get it, you can make your own machine guns to your heart's content. Now, you can't just sell them around left and right. That's actually a whole lot more complicated than what you think. But if you want to build something, you can build it, and that's the end of it. So that's kind of cool. And then 2, how can machine gun variants of an assault rifle can be made? I'm not going to tell you squat about how to make a machine gun out of your rifles because that would be not good of me to do that. So Not going to talk about that. And then, more generally, let's talk about this being a gunsmith question. There are sort of these two common themes that I often see of people saying, I want to be a gunsmith. I want to be a gun designer. I want to do it. Well, the reality is the firearms market isn't that big, which means that the amount of sort of cool engineering jobs or cool gunsmithing jobs are actually very limited, unless you can do something that's very specialized, where currently there's a gap, in place, then you're not going to be that successful in it. Let's take in mind that the firearms market is how big? I mean, the National Sports Shooting Federation, NSSF, which is a trade group that does market assessments of how big the firearms market is. Didn't they say like a year or two ago that the firearms market was $7 billion? That sounds like a big number. It is. EA Games is about $7 billion. It's like one gaming company. They're probably, actually, I haven't read their financials recently, so I could be way off on that. But I remember them to be anywhere between 4 and 7. Anyway, firearms market isn't that big, and most of that goes to ammunition, or most of that goes into firearms that were designed decades ago, and they're just selling more of them. If you want to be a gunsmith, or you want to be a gun designer, you either need to be, if you want to be a gun designer, you need to be top of your class at a top engineering school, not a state engineering school, a top engineering school. Or alternatively, if you think you're so good and you don't go that route, you can try to start your own firearms business and make your own guns. But I'll tell you, it's cutthroat. There are a lot of companies out there that try to do it, and they fail a lot because they have to not only make a good firearm and test it, which is incredibly expensive to do for an entrepreneur, but you got to market it. And if you want to make like a modern assault rifle, you're going to be inundated with so many other companies that are doing that right now. Think about it this way. Right now, in the U.S., how many new production guns are being done right now that are either assault rifles or battle rifles? Well, let's count them. And I'm just to be off my top of my head. I got to think about this more, and maybe more will come into my mind. We have the Bushmaster ACR, aka the Magpul Masada. We have the Scar, which is actually more FNF from FN in Europe. However, I think it's actually locally produced in the U.S. I could be mistaken. You guys can correct me on that. So those are two, entrants in the competition. You got the Caltech stuff. You got the Caltech KSG. You got the Caltech folder nonsense, whatever that's called. You guys can help me. It's the Caltech something. It folds in and folds out. Whatever. And what else you got? You have the Tavor coming into the market soon. The IMI Tavor, or the MTAR 21, going to the U.S. market. All these guns are coming in. They're all competing for each other. Oh yeah, and then SIG, is reintroducing their SIG 551 series. There's a lot of rifles being sold out there. The market is fierce, is fraught with competition. It really is. Now, if you can do something unique that hasn't been done before, or do it a whole lot better. So let's give two examples from the AK world. First example, in the mid to late 90s, there were only a handful of manufacturers making AK receivers, which are the things that fold and you can do it. And actually, on that note, I skipped something before one of the questions, and so I'm actually going to use this as an example because I want to talk about this anyway. So, other than the SIG 553 that I'm getting, I also got a new parts kit. Let's pull the parts kit up. Hold on, parts kit. Ooh, what kind of parts kit is this, guys? Does it say on the box? No, it doesn't. So, this has some European writings on it or some sort, and it has all these different parts kits. It has a serial number. It says Puska model AK-47. I don't know what language this is. It may be Croatian, maybe. Anyway, it's Croatian. What do you think kind of parts kit it is? Let's just get it out right now. Ooh, here we go. Put this on the side. Here's a parts kit. Now, I'm actually going to show you only one piece, and if you have a good eye for AKs, you will know exactly what kind of parts kit this is. Are you ready for this? It's just this one. It's just the buttstock. It's just a buttstock. I'm going to give you a second. I'm actually going to fold it, and then you guys can tell me if you guys know what it is. Let's push it out. Come on, push it out. There, it's folded. And it's locked. And then I got to push it again. and then it unfolds, and it's locked. What kind of parts kit is this, guys? 3, 2, 1. This is an Egyptian parts kit. But wait, Daskro, you just said this is from Europe. Well, here's the interesting thing about it. So back in the 90s, when Yugoslavia collapsed, there were some of the newly formed states that didn't have all the Yugoslavian surplus that they needed. And so Egypt took their AK production line and made commercial variants, commercial full auto variants of their Egyptian Mahdi rifles. And they were sold to Croatia. And Croatia never used them. And so this is actually a kit that, it's actually a rifle that was never used. I mean, it's still got traditional oil on it. It's got matching serials. I think if I can find the trunnion, got parts. Where is the trunnion? I mean, you can just see, I mean, the wood looks great. Where's the trunnion? There. It says caliber 7.6 by 39. It's got the export or the export markings on the windage, because otherwise it would be in Arabic. It's got, where's that from? And here's where you can really tell. This is manufactured in what, I think 1993, but it has all Arabic characters. It has these weird Arabic characters on it, and you really can't see it, but that's all right. On the trunnion. And other things, like for instance, they peen down the follower lip. What do you think that's called? The bullet guide in a way that it's fully flush. It's a really nice kit, and it's all new. And I get my hands all dirty. That's okay. And so I bought this sort of on a whim, and I'm gonna build it, but I'm missing the receiver, right? I brought this up because of the receiver. Well, the receiver is, that piece of sheet metal that's folded together, and then you rivet all of them together. You got rivets, and then you're done. And when I put this away, it's gonna make this noise. So excuse me. And one more. And put it away. Now, the receiver holds it together. In the mid-late 90s, there was only a few companies that actually made receivers, and they were all kind of average in terms of quality. But then again, back then, there weren't that many parts kits available. But then you know what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s? The U.S. got flooded with parts kits. And there was a small company that was making Uzi receivers, which are also stamped receivers, named Nodex Spud. Nodex Spud came in, and they made a superior quality AK receiver for a decent price, sub $100, and they made a killing. To this day, they are the dominant AK receiver maker. They destroyed all the competition because they made such a better receiver. And what they did is a very niche market. They made receivers for AKs. That's all they did, and they've been very successful at it. If you can come up with that next idea or predict where the market's going, you can make a lot of money too doing that. Another AK example. I bought some receivers for some of my nicer kits from 74U LC. 74U LC makes receivers no different than Nodex Spud, but here's the difference. 74U LC as a company actually will take documented photographs of these real AKs of a given time period, 1983, 1994, 1995, and find them in the field, and then document meticulously all the elements to the actual production of the receiver, where the spot welds were and where they were not, any interesting grooves or marks or identifiers for that given year, and other variations of that matter. And then he, as a one-man shop, recreates that receiver for that given period. Because I, as someone who has a 1983 Soviet Izmash kit, want as authentic as I can, 1983 Soviet Izmash receiver, even though that's made in the United States. And so he charges twice as much as Nodex Spud, and he has a huge backlog. He has months worth of backlog because people want them. Because it's a very niche thing that people want. My other friend who makes a lot of the guns for me, he's making Sturmgewehr 44 receivers right now. There's no one making Sturmgewehr 44 receivers in America right now. He's making them because there's a very small demand for them. There's probably only maybe 50 people that want them, but he's going to make them. He's going to make a good amount of money, put a lot of effort into it, and so he's making a living off of it. But again, niche markets. So if you want to get in the gunsmith, you got to think about that kind of constraint. Now, if you want to just be the guy that Bubba brings in his hunting rifle and says zero it and clean it up, then okay, you can do that, but it's going to be it's going to be boring work. And I would suspect that Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop will start offering that a whole lot more, and then you'll be out of business. Anyway, let's go to the next question. Z99WTD asks, any Swedish Ks or FNCs in your collection? So, answer is no and no, but I have the same friend that makes SG44 kits has a full auto Swedish K and has a full auto FNC. I've shot them plenty of times. I've never recorded videos of them because neither of those are in the game, and I don't think either of them will be in the game. Well, it'll be really cool if the FNC gets in the game. And actually, I think it is in the new Medal of Honor Warfighter game, and so maybe I'll do it for that. But Swedish K, not so much. They're fun guns to shoot. Swedish K is a open bolt full auto, similar to the PPS 43C that I showed you guys a few weeks ago. The FNC is a smaller version of an FNFAL, although it works a little bit differently. Interesting about FNC though, in the United States. So, if you guys remember, you have this full auto machine gun registry that closed down about almost 20 years ago. No, not 20 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And when it closed down, when that registry closed down, no new machine guns could enter that market. Now, there was a guy, and that guy had a number of FNCs in his inventory as a manufacturer. And he figured out, hey, the only thing that it takes to make an FNC is a very easy to produce piece of sheet metal. To make it, the auto sear is very basic in nature. And so here's what he did. He said, okay, I got 500 FNCs. Well, if I'm going to make a piece of sheet metal, I might as well make as many as I can. As many as I can. And so he ended up making and registering with the machine gun registry thousands upon thousands of these auto sears. Now you may be thinking, daskro, that's great. That means that everyone who has an FNC can have a machine gun for on the cheap. But here's the problem. There were not that many FNCs in the United States at the time, and there still aren't. And so you can buy one of these auto sears, not including the tax, for no kidding, less than $500. There's that many of them. They're really cheap, relatively speaking. You're not going to be able to find a full auto, or a semi-auto, or even a parts kit of an FNC for under $5,000–6,000. Isn't that funny to think about? That the auto sear is so much more abundant than the kits and the guns themselves. That the guns themselves are the valuable thing, and not the registered part. And usually that's just the opposite for almost all the other guns. The problem is the FNC was only used by a few countries. It was used by who? By I don't even remember who made them. I think Morocco used them. No, they didn't use them. They used something else. Maybe Colombia, maybe Venezuela. I'll have to look it up. I don't remember off the top of my head. But there weren't that many countries, and we can't get them in there. If you know some country that has FNCs or had them recently, and you know a big warehouse for it's so hard to say, FNCs, I'd love to hear it. Because if you and I could figure out a way to get these guns in parts kits to the United States, we can make a ton of money. You and I could make a ton of money by doing that if we could do it all legally. I'm not trying to do anything illegal. But if we can find a country that has them, boy, that would be awesome. And so, yeah. Oh, yeah, Swedish K. Swedish K, they're a lot more common, even full autos. They're fun. They're good. I don't know how much to say about them. They're a burp gun. Let's go to Sumo Pigman. He says, can you explain how the slide goes back in pistols in general? I just can't figure it out. Well, let's remember the PPS 43C. I really should have brought out the guns anyway, and I didn't. I feel like I'm a moron now. When a gun goes off, you got a straight blowback. It goes off. That pressure from that round expelling pushes into the weight of that bolt. The bolt slams back, goes forward, and does it again. With pistols, semi-automatic pistols, it's a lot of them work that way. Some of them are straight blowback, some of them are delayed blowback. The Desert Eagle is actually a gas impingement. I think it's a gas impingement system or a gas piston system. I forget. It uses gas diversion nonetheless. But it's same principle as rifles. And with the pistols, because pistol caliber cartridges are very easy to maintain and control, and they don't have a lot of ump to them, you can use blowback because they don't have a lot of kinetic force going behind them. So it's really that simple. You can I mean, you're watching this on YouTube. There's a lot of videos out there where you can see how these animations work. It's not that bad. And then final question. Small Productions LT says, what you think about new AK-12 weapons family coming? So the AK-12 weapons family is a new ISMASH concept where it's taking some of the elements of the AK-971, excuse me, of the AN-94 and of the AK Century series and put them all together. And so it has, what does it have? It has the same kind of internal fire mechanism as an AK Century series or an AK-74 does, but it also has a gas block that actually operates two separate pistons, one going this way, one going that way. And so when it goes off, it basically counterbalances each other as they fling back and forth. I think it looks stupid as hell, and I don't think it's going to be, I don't think you will ever see it produce any big numbers. I really don't. As I've mentioned in our videos, the Russians have so many AKs. There's no military demand for an AK-12. There isn't. There's no international demand for AK-12s because the problem is that there's no way that they're going to be able to make enough AK-12s, enough volume to get the price down enough for it to be competitive against anything else. AKs have a stigma of being low quality in comparison to U.S. or European firearms manufacturers. And unless they can offer the AKs at a price that is so much lower than what the Europeans offer or what the U.S. offers, they're not going to be able to compete against it. And take in mind, though, with ISMASH right now, the factory that makes these AKs, a majority of their revenue is coming from U.S. civilian firearm sales, from them selling semi-automatic AK Segas into the U.S. market. That's why they're surviving, not military orders. So that's really important to remember. The Russians don't need any AKs. They have probably 10 times as many as they need. There is no exigent need to make an AK-12 versus an AK-74 or an AK Century series. And there's no international demand for it. So I think it's just going to be mothballed like everything else. So sorry, guys. AK-12, probably not going to happen. Well, I think that's the end of this one, and I know you guys are all very disappointed on having the guns here, but hopefully the SIG video was enough to quench your thirst. Anyway, I'll be doing more gun videos as always, and more of these gun comparisons. Keep on sending the questions. Always fun to talk about. This one was a bit more ad-lib and impromptu. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I think I'm going to do more research and not be more and do something different. I don't know. I needed my props. I don't have any props. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys.